Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is one of the first videos that I'm actually launching to the many videos that I'm going to be having in this channel. So this channel basically covers concepts relating to cloud computing, AI and data and analytics. So if you're interested in any of those topics, please like and subscribe so that you can get access to more content that I'll be posting in this channel. Cool. So today's topic is, what is cloud computing? So I'm sure everyone has a lot of questions. What exactly is cloud computing and what is the hype around this technology? And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll get an understanding of what cloud computing is and what exactly are the benefits of this technology. So now let's get to the agenda. So what I'm going to be covering today is, what is cloud computing? So getting to define what cloud computing is, and secondly, cloud service models. So, what are the different types of cloud service models that you can actually get access to this technology? The major cloud service providers and the benefits of cloud computing will be covered at the end of this video. So, now then, let's get into it. What is cloud computing? So there's so many definitions around this technology, but this is a very simplistic sort of definition, right? So firstly, cloud computing is the delivery of computing resources over the internet, right? So this basically means that you might be sitting in your computer somewhere and getting access to these computing resources. So cloud computing could not be possible without the presence of the internet. So it is actually an innovation that came as a result of the internet. So what are these resources? So the key things is, what are these resources that you are getting over the internet? Now, these resources are basically compute. So, this is computing capabilities for your computer. Now, if you're starting a company and all of a sudden your computers cannot handle like the demand from your customers, so let's say you're hosting your applications on your devices, which is not the ideal case, but let's say it happens that you've got a few computers that you use to basically host some of your websites. And what happens if you get more traffic and more people are using your server, you're more likely going to experience a crash. But with cloud computing, you can basically order these computing resources over the internet through any of the major cloud service providers, and you can basically scale up and scale down depending on the demand. Now, next is basically storage. So, if you do not have enough storage with cloud computing, you get access to an unlimited amount of storage. Well, it is limited, but the idea of that you get access to these storage services from the major cloud computing companies like Google, Amazon, and they've got a lot of data centers around the world dedicated to provide you storage, right? Networking. So networking, this is basically giving you access to like virtual networks, being able to ensure that your devices are connected as you deliver services to your customers, and you even get protection to your networking devices, virtual private networks, security groups that we'll be covering in the other videos that I'll be posting in this channel. Databases. I'm sure you're thinking, isn't databases the same thing as storage? Cool. With storage, I would say it's a bit different, right? So storage is more of you getting the storage service provided to you via the internet, and database is more like you requesting to have dedicated database. So it's more of an infrastructure as a service. So having dedicated databases to you to basically utilize whenever you need them. So those are some of the computing resources that you actually get from this cloud computing capabilities. Now, lastly, is development tools. So, cloud computing also comes with tools that you can use to develop the applications without having to worry about the underlying infrastructure. So, at a nutshell, these are some of the core benefits. There's so many other benefits or sort of like resources that you can actually get by using cloud computing, but this is sort of like the core ones that are mostly common in all these different major cloud computing entities. Now, next, let's look at the cloud service models, right? So, cloud computing services can be categorized into the three main categories. If you remember, initially I said there was some sort of difference with storage and the actual databases, right? Cool. So, there's actually three of them, and obviously the first one being infrastructure as a service, and software as a service, and platform as a service. So, let's cover this in detail in the following slides. Cool. So when we say software as a service, now this model provides a fully functional applications to users over the internet, right? So you get a fully functioning application that you can actually use. Now, this means that you are renting a fully managed application. So, fully managed means you let these major cloud providers basically manage things like security, any updates to the operating system, or any updates to the actual application itself. Now, think about when you're using your Gmail or Google Docs or Google Drive or any of the Microsoft tools like your Word and Excel. You don't worry about security updates. They handle the security updates for you. You just pay for the licensing, or in some other case, you might actually be the product in the platform, especially if you're not paying, um, basically. So I think these are very common examples that we actually face on daily basis, and you don't have to worry about configuring any of these applications. You just use them and just pay for the licenses, or sometimes they can be free. Now, moving on to the sort of like second level, which would be your platform as a service. So, now platform as a service sort of removes the complexity of managing the underlying infrastructure, allowing you to focus solely on the deployment and management of your applications, right? So, what does this mean? Now, this means that you can actually build applications. You can build applications without having to worry about what sort of like operating systems are they going to run on, what sort of like infrastructure should you have to ensure that your applications actually function. You just have to worry about building them, and these platforms basically ensure that they get the proper infrastructure needed for you to run your applications. For example, your Google Cloud, you can build machine learning models or on Azure or even Google Cloud without having to worry about the underlying infrastructure that ensures that all of those resources are actually running, right? Lastly, so now this is the infrastructure as a service. So infrastructure as a service is the foundational layer in cloud computing, providing virtualized computing resources. Now, remember, now here you're talking about getting access to virtualized servers and storage, networking, firewall security, data centers. So this basically means that you're getting dedicated sort of like servers, so you're getting dedicated physical hardware for your own organization. And I think organizations that tend to utilize this model are very big organizations like banks, because they can afford to actually get such resources dedicated to them, because they sort of know that kind of capacity that they need. And sometimes the security and compliance reasons that, because with these other models like your software as a service and your platform as a service, you don't really choose which databases um, can be privately dedicated to you. So these databases can be publicly available to anyone. Obviously, your information is protected. But if you want to have more control in your infrastructure, you want to determine what kind of patches or how often you actually make updates to your infrastructure or databases, this is when you'd actually opt for this sort of model, infrastructure as a service, basically. And now, looking at this image that obviously is from the Microsoft Learn platform. So, what this image actually shows is the shared responsibility that comes with this technology, right? So you're not the only one responsible for most of the things. Now, if you look at the traditional way, which is the on-premise model basically, you are responsible for the physical data center, physical network, and the physical host. This means that you're responsible for the physical security of those data centers, because you've got your own like on-premise data centers, and you're not using any of the Microsoft ones, right? So some companies started to sort of move towards infrastructure as a service. Now, as you remember, you start to give some of the work to Microsoft, right? Microsoft or any of the major cloud providers, like things like your physical data centers, networking components, and things like physical hosts. So some of it actually starts to go to Microsoft. As you move further to platform as a service, you sort of like the middle line between software as a service and infrastructure as a service. So most of the things are basically handled by these major cloud providers, and you can sort of control some of the things. So remember, as you move from infrastructure as a service to software as a service, you give away some sort of control within the IT environment, right? And for good reasons, obviously. And I think the last one, then, that would be software as a service. Now, with software as a service, you've got limit to what you can actually do, and majority of the things are actually managed by the cloud provider itself, right? So these are sort of like the different cloud models by which you can get access to these resources. And this is basically depicting that shared model to say you're not responsible for everything. Some of it is basically shared with these cloud providers. Now, I'm sure you obviously wonder, I'm talking about these cloud providers. Who is the best? Who's currently leading? At the moment, AWS is currently the number one, followed by Azure with 25% of the market share. Obviously, Google. And if you look at closely, these are some of the major sort of like tech companies, and they've been around in this industry and they've built so many tools and resources that you can actually take advantage of as an organization. Now, moving on to the next part. Now, what are the benefits of this technology? Why is everyone excited about this? Now, let's look at scalability. Now, traditionally, as an organization, let's say you have bought 10 databases, right? You bought 10 databases, and all of a sudden you start to get a huge demand in your customer base. Now, you need to buy more database to actually meet the demand of the customers. But with cloud computing, the nice thing is that cloud computing offers the ability to adjust resources to meet your demand. Now, if you buy more databases and you're no longer using them, now the problem is that you need to incur further costs for those databases that you've actually paid for. But with cloud computing, when your demand is high, you can automatically get more databases dedicated for you or available for you to utilize. When the demand is low, same thing happens. You get less of sort of like databases or infrastructure available for you to utilize because you do not need to use all of that infrastructure. Right. Security. Now, this is one of the major benefits that comes with these cloud providers because they've spent so much time understanding how they can basically protect their resources. They have developed so many tools to basically utilize in protecting your information system assets. Now, the benefits of this, you don't have to worry about security or having a very huge security team, although to some extent you need to be have some sort of controls implemented in order to like protect some of your resources. Now, the benefit now with this is that you get these organizations that are basically dedicated to protecting your IT assets. Pay as you use. Now, pay as you use, this is one of the most best selling points when it comes to this technology is that you do not have to pay for resources that you're not using. So you only pay for the resources that you'd be using at that point. So if your utilization was high, you obviously pay more, and if your utilization was low, you'd actually pay less. So it helps you as an organization to say, in periods where you're not getting enough customers, you minimize your cost because you're paying less. There's less demand. Availability. Now, these resources are available, or I'd say almost 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, most of these organizations come with sort of like agreements to say they ensure that their resources would be available to you at like 99.9999% of the time. And that basically it means that your organization can be available to your customers almost 24 hours, 7 days a week. So, meaning that you can continue operating. Now, think about if you are a bank, if there are periods whereby your application is not working at certain times, that could actually influence how your customer feel the experience is within that bank, right? Cool. Moving on to the last one. So the last one that would be reliability. Now, reliability, this basically talks about the ability to recover from failures. So in the event that maybe some of your databases crashed or something actually happened, you've got a secondary database available for you to basically utilize. If you lost some of the data, this data can is already copied to a secondary database. So this means that even though you were to experience sort of like a loss in data, you know that you can always recover and get back to operating as usual as an entity, right? So this in a nutshell basically covers the benefits of cloud computing. And thank you for watching the video, and I hope the video was useful to you and you did find some value. And if you're interested in seeing more of our content or content like this, feel free to like and subscribe and give us some recommendations or certain videos that you'd like to see in the channel. But remember, our core concepts are in cloud computing, data analytics, and AI. Thank you.